Ew! Look at this scum! What is that?
I don't know, but we need to get to the bottom of this.
Team on three. 1, 2, 3.
Team!
According to the American Advertising Federation, Indianapolis, advertisements should
Tell the truth.
Shall be substantiated by evidence in possession of the advertiser and advertising agency.
Refrain from containing false or misleading information about competitors.
refrain from using bait advertisements.
Contain explicit warranties.
Avoid false or misleading price claims.
Contain real and honest testimonies.
These magic beans gave me my life back and my hair.
Be free of statements, illustrations, or implications that are offensive to good taste and decency. However, good taste and decency is often lost due to over-sexualized advertisements.
According to a 2003 research study held by the students at the University of Buffalo, sociologists reviewed more than 1,000 Rolling Stone cover images.
In the 2000s alone, 17% of men and 83% of women were sexualized.
According to a PBS 2008 study of 1,988 advertisements from the 50 well-known American magazines, researchers from Wesleyan University found that half of them showed women as a sex object. A woman was considered a sex object depending on her posture, facial expression, makeup, activity, camera angle, and amount of skin shown.
In today's society, it's no surprise that sex sells. Companies everywhere use the sexualization of both women and men to market their product. Jordan Kramer, a digital analyst at Tag Communication and a recent Ambrose grad, can agree.
I think it's always been a problem. It's just been in the limelight more often now since social media is such a big thing and it's in the digital realm. Information passes so easily. Whether or not it's a bigger problem now, I don't think as big, but it's definitely in the limelight more, and with more equality acts, it's definitely something that people take a look at.
But what's the issue with using sex to sell a product?
The cultivation theory could answer this question.
According to Mass Communication Theory by Stanley Barron and Dennis Davis, the cultivation theory is a social theory which examines the long-term effects of television. It says that media contributes to the creation of a culture's framework and knowledge and underlying general concepts.
By using unrealistically thin women and muscle-filled men to sell an average product, the audience then begins to believe that that's how the average person is supposed to look.
And this causes self-esteem issues in both men and women.
In the article, An Intervention for the Negative Influence on Media on Body Esteem by Haas, they mention a study done by Pfister and Smith on the effects of media images to women and the relationship of eating disorders and subsequent thinness.
Pfister and Smith found that the association between the initial risk for disordered eating and subsequent thinness expectancy endorsement was much smaller in an average-size model image viewing group than in the controlled or thin model image viewing group. This showed that girls who were exposed to thin model images were more affected than those exposed to the average-sized women.
In Self-Enhancing Effects of Exposure to Thin Body Images by Joshi, it mentions that exposing young women to images of thin, attractive models increased body dissatisfaction and other negative effects.
Continuously being exposed to these images brought about many negative connotations in the self-image of women.
According to Psychology Today, the average child watches TV for an average of 4.5 hours each day.
A study was performed on 702 children, and the results showed that 72% of children had no time restrictions on television viewing, while 52 reported that they were able to watch whatever he or she wished, and only 39 reported having to follow rules. Those rules were enforced some of the time or less. With this excessive exposure to television, children must be subject to see these sexualized images. It is a known fact that members of media have a social responsibility. The Mass Communication Theory by Stanley Barron and Dennis Davis says that the social responsibility theory has an obligation to act for the benefit of the society at large.
Many believe that sexualized advertisements go against this social responsibility.
We interviewed previous pageant queen Lexi Kelleher, a student at SAU and a model for Von Maur, to see what she had to say about these advertisements.
I think it's just how our culture's been, with music, movies, commercials, everything these days is just all about sex. Listening to my dad's music, it's always like, another one bites the dust. And then now it's like, yeah, I'm in love with the cocoa. And, just like portraying women and, like drugs and sex, things like that. And I don't know, it's just everywhere. I feel like we can't really get away from it.
Kelleher also discussed the trials of being a model. Some girls are afraid to talk to her or intimidated by her due to social norms in advertising and stigmas.
I know that a few times when I've met people that are actually my closest friends now, they're like, oh, you're a model, oh, you did pageants, like you must think you're some hot stuff. And, that's actually not who I am. It took me a long time to be comfortable with myself and not have to think about, oh, I need to look this way in order to be accepted.
The effects of these sexualized advertisements don't just focus on women. The negative effects reach men as well. According to a study by the Adolescence Journal in 2015, men don't only objectify women due to these ads, they see themselves in a different light. It also leads to the loss of respect towards women and men in adolescent boys.
According to NBC News, the more media young men consumed, especially music videos and prime TV, the worse they felt about real aspects of their body.
Seasoned advertising professional Mark McLaughlin says that men and women are sexualized, but men are usually put on the back burner, for women are the main focus. However, McLaughlin says that men were subject to this sexualized advertising, and in some cases can affect them worse than it affects women.
It's funny, if you go through bookstores now, you see a surprising amount more of like guys' abs, like from their shoulders down, It's like, soon will guys with great pecs and abs be like, hey, my eyes are up here. I think, though, when they do it with the abs, somehow people don't see it as sexuality because, well, it's just some guys, but still, it's still there.
Boys have body issues too. According to NBC News, the more media these young men consumed, especially music videos and primetime TV, the worse they felt about those real aspects of their bodies.
Despite many companies using sex to sell, there are still many that do not.
Well, no matter how much you sexualize a commercial, you can always appeal to people by, you're going to save money, or this will be good for you. I mean, sometimes if you present an actual benefit beyond the sexual, people will see that and realize, yeah, you're right, I don't want to spend so much money on that.
TAG usually picks and chooses who our clients are. We've had people come to us, so like distilleries or beer companies that want to kind of use this sexual innuendo of ads, but we tend to shut that down.
Although these advertisements may follow the AAF's ethical rules and guidelines, sexualized advertisements still consume the media.
Unless we try to make differences, these commercials and advertisements will stay the same.
A study by Focus on the Family showed that the only way to stop the sexualization of men and women is to keep this out of the household, especially away from children. Advertising can be an outlet for wholesome fun or harmful behavior. To stop the sexualization of society through ads, it starts with the rejection of these ads and products. Turn off that ad and buy a different product. Media is a powerful tool. Advertising companies must learn that with great power comes great responsibility.